This week in comic books, DC gives us a bunch of new characters, and we're going to change things up a little bit over in Lazarus' storyline. Also in Marvel, we probably bring back one of the probably the most forgotten about comic book characters of all time. We're going to talk about him. And also in Independence, it's all about that drama and mystery. But before we dive into this week, let me try to say you something real quick. Hey weirdos, do you ever find it hard to get going in the morning? Do you need a swift kick in the butt to get your day started? I find a good cup of coffee helps me supercharge my evil genius ways and motivates my villainy. Coffee Brand Coffee is the perfect start to my dastardly day. They offer multiple roast and flavors, teas and cocos, while you sit by the fire and watch all your enemies burn. Go to Coffee Brand Coffee today and use promo code POCANJOE and save 10%. Coffee Brand Coffee. No gimmicks, just coffee. Alright, you wonderful weirdos. Check the links down below if you're interested. Also, I have other links down there too to my merch store and things like that. So let's jump into this week's comic book review. We're going to launch off with Lazarus Planet here with Legends Reborn. Not really reborn, but more of an introduction to some new heroes slash villains into the DC universe. I'm really liking these because they're launching these characters correctly. This way, if you don't like something, you can throw it off. But if you do like something, they can bring it in to kind of continuity at this point. My favorite one is, of course, this one titled, out of the 4 stories in here, this one called City Boy. Who Nightwing is affectionately calling this new superhero
City Boy! City Boy!
That's right, City Boy. So I like this because it's a young man who's doing like urban exploration, not exploration, but treasure hunting, right? I've seen these YouTube channels before where people do this kind of stuff. They find things in alleys, sidewalks, and stuff like that, like gold and stuff like that, and then pawn it off as a little side hustle type thing. Our character's powers get enhanced, so he can already kind of find things, right, in his woo-woo magic sort of way. I really like the way they kind of depicted it, but like now his powers are like just on max level, right? They're just popping. And also we bring to life the essence of Gotham, and I couldn't think of a better way than a trash rat to bring that together as it's on his little shoulder right there. I thought that was funny. I think it's great. I really want to see some more of this character. The only other story in there I really found interesting was this whole Aragon kind of tricking Raven into dealing with these 3 demons who were just 3 kids playing some basketball. Storm hits them. Now they're demons. 2 of them go away, and one of them's like, oh, Aragon here is kind of like a father figure to me. So we're kind of got that whole surrogate father versus the forsaken child type of story. I hope they go down that road with it. I think that would be the most interesting thing out there. You know, where one kid sees this false affection or fatherly love versus, and not really seeing that, yeah, he's a demon at the end of the day. You can't trust a demon, nor should they be trusted, nor do they have trust. So they even mentioned that in the story, and I thought that was great, and I thought that was a unique way of telling that story. I hope they push on. The other one with Firestorm, basically getting a new personality inside of Firestorm and it aging him and stuff like that, just kind of seemed to kind of rehash to me. But those 2 stories out of there were definitely the ones that kind of stood on point for me, and I really enjoyed them. So yeah, if you haven't had an opportunity yet, you might want to check that out. I think we got some new characters entering our DC universe there in comic books. Next, we got Flash, the 1 Minute War. Again, not a heavy Flash reader, but I wanted to pick this up because I read the synopsis for it. So we got a alien race far off into the universe, and they tap into the Speed Force, which opens up the multiverse for them and everything else. So they're expanding their society and growing their influence, and they're going to need more natural resources for that, and that's what brings them into our timeline, our multiverse, and our Earth even. I really liked that concept. I love the way they tell the story in here with each different type of speeder kind of interacting with these speed soldiers is the best thing I can call them at this point. And the whole concept of expanding a society, you know, well beyond what it needs instead of using its resources more appropriately. I'm kind of a little bit of a recycler. I can dig that story. Most interesting story in here, of course, was Godspeed. It was cool seeing Godspeed kind of do the bad thing for the right reason as he's rolling through a house. It's read almost like a little bit like a horror story. He's just hacking and dicing people with a butcher knife. I thought that was interesting. And the little love affair between two speedsters in here, and of course the appearance of Golden Beetle, who's this kind of flaky, weird, not understanding what time frame she in, but she obviously has access to more knowledge than everybody else, right? Thought it was interesting, but I was really kind of, I don't know, I was expecting more, and I shouldn't have had that concept going into this. I should have just read it, but I was like, oh, we're going to get this huge battle thing, and it's going to, it's just four individual stories of dealing with this, so this story is going to continue on as we move further. Next, okay, so Silver Surfer, Ghostlight. This is interesting. So we have a character in here who's constantly being seen in dreams and stuff like that. But first, to preface it of the whole story is a family inherits a house from an uncle, or the kid's uncle, mother's brother. And inside this house, everything feels kind of weird or whatever, but this person is actually significant in comic books, more especially all the way back in Silver Surfer number 5. We're talking about Dr. Owl in here, if you will, and the time that he helped the Silver Surfer, which ultimately ended his life. He died in Silver Surfer number 5. Well, now he's being resurrected in true comic book fashion. He's back, baby. And of course, Silver Surfer sees this energy from way out in space. This whole event kind of happened, and he shows back up. I think this is good because, one, it gets people back into the older comic books. You have to kind of know who this character is and why they're significant to some degree, and even the ultimate sacrifice that this particular character made, and the connection that Silver Surfer would have with him. Like something's happening with my friend. I need to go help my friend. And of course, as he shows up, Dr. Owl there is coming up out of the grave, and it looks like he may have some power, some science woo-woo may be going on there. So let's go with it. Let's go down that rabbit hole. I think it's going to be an interesting story. I'll be chasing that down. Next, okay, finally it's over. Dark Web, another number 1. That's really the conclusion, and the sheer fact that they have the audacity to call it number 1 and then call it the final just shows how ridiculous covers are actually getting this day just to sell a cover. Cool cover, don't get me wrong. But like all covers, well, not all covers, most covers, it lies. It lies to you. So this kind of concludes the story. Limbo, Chasm, a.k.a. fake Spider-Man, a.k.a. clone of Peter Parker, a.k.a. Ben Reilly, whatever name we're going to call him this week, is the king of Limbo, which is really just hell. I don't know why they just didn't call it hell. And they're going to attack New York. And, of course, Spider-Man, Rip Rack, or Rack Rip, Ricka Rappa, another Spider-Man, Demon Spider-Man. We'll just call it that. The X-Men, the Golden Goblin, the Goblin Queen, right? They're all fighting it. And come to find out, we didn't need to have this huge battle because the Goblin Queen just goes, wait, a scepter doesn't make me in charge. In this case, it's a sickle, but it's acted as a scepter, a sign of authority. You know, I don't really need that thing. I am the queen of this place. Out of nowhere, and everybody just kind of starts following her, whatever. So the conclusion comes down that, yeah, we need to put him away, right? Ben Reilly, we need to put him away someplace. But Spider-Man needs to be able to visit him for reasons that doesn't really clarify. It does, but it's mostly emotional BS. So they set up an embassy in New York. Now, I have a question. In comic book lore, right, especially in Marvel, how much real estate do they really think there is in New York City? Think about that for a second, and all the different buildings our superheroes have everywhere, and now we just have this crazy, hellish-looking tower in there that's keeping, of course, Ben Reilly in prison there, so Spider-Man can visit him and feel bad and talk about it. I promised I would follow this one down just to kind of see where it went, and I did that. I kept my word. So overall, across the board, all the stories, meh, is my rating. Like, I need to make a rating thing and put it over here. Just meh. Like, there's meh, okay. Oh, that was good. Right? I'm making my own rating system. Thank you, fans. Moving on. Second story from Marvel this week, we got Moon Knight. So this is cool. So we're going to dive into something slightly different with Moon Knight in this particular arc. It's the launch of a new arc, and we got the Harley Quinn twins in here, who are basically just clownish murderer types, right? But in this case, we're going to throw an occult twist into this, with this whole ghost in the phone thing, and nothing matters. This real nihilistic type view that nothing matters, it all needs to die and go away. I like this. I kind of have this weird, like, it's not obsession. It's just more interest in cults and why they act the way they do and how they brainwash people. So yeah, definitely heavy brainwashing going on in here. And they decide that the ghost in the phone has told them to go kill all of Mark Spector's past relationships with people, right? His secret cabinet of experts that he has to rely on. They start going through it, and we're being kind of led to believe that it's the Zodiac. I don't think it's the Zodiac. This is a spoiler. I'll give you a second to hit the mute button. Okay? I think it's Sigmund, his psychiatrist friend. Because that just makes more sense for a psychological thriller than just making it Zodiac still. Especially after his talk with the Zodiac. So this means that everybody can come back now. You can come back. You can hear now. So I hope the story goes that way, even though I may have spoiled it. But yeah, I think that would be a lot more interesting story, even if it is slightly spoiled now to some degree. Yeah. Also, the secondary story in here is just an old school Moon Knight story where we did with the past female Moon Knight, which the timing doesn't make sense in continuity of comic books because it would have been the 70s one, which still would have been the Moon Knight we know now from the runs, the Werewolf by Night and all that, I guess. But regardless, we got to shoehorn this character in there someplace to make sense. And at one time, Blade and her worked together. I believe there may be some connection with the Blade story, the Sisters of the Sword, or whatever they're calling it. I did not pick that one up, unfortunately, because I wanted to pick up a bunch of independents. And baby, kind of focused on the independents. So quick shout out to everybody out there that hit me up in my DM and messaged me. I picked up a lot of what you guys were like, hey, you might want to check this out. So first, right up off the bat, is Barbarella. I got this this Ashcan promotional for the new Barbarella that's coming out, which is just a continuance from Barbarella before. They're on a space mission. They're going to this little, his name's Lynx. They're going to his planet and meeting his people because of issues and problems. And come to find out they're actually imprisoning everybody and trying to run tests on them. There's a secret going on overall. Are they brainwashed? Are they really this big of a jerk? Blah, blah, blah. So I don't really know. For most promotionals, you don't really get a whole lot of the story or understanding of what's going on. It's just to try to capture your attention. But if you like Barbarella and this new kind of parody of sexualism, I think is the best way to put it, and her ability to be able to make people be kinder. Right? I don't want to say fall in love because it doesn't seem like love to me. It just seems like a, oh, you're so pretty. What can I do for you? Type attitude. I don't think I'm going to be following it down, though. I read it, and those stories just really aren't for me. Parodies are fun, but not this one for me. Next, Rick and Morty. So this is how you rehash a concept and make it different at the same time. So in this, if you may remember, if you're a Rick and Morty's fan, you got the whole Citadel and the Council of Ricks, right? And that whole organization, it kind of focuses on science, and everybody has their different levels, and they have dumb Ricks and smart Ricks and medium Ricks, and your kind of status in society depends on your intelligence level. Well, here what we're going to do is we're going to take the math teacher, Goldsmith, Gold something or other. I can't even remember. We're going to take him, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of set him up as the one that we're seeing in here is the smartest one, and he's got his little niece with him, right? You see the parallels here. You got Rick and Morty, and then we got these two characters, kind of the same. Only we're going to focus on mathematics over here, and they're focused on super duper science stuff over here. And then we're going to make them clash, and of course, our math guy has gotten several versions of him to work for him, right? Which one will win? Math over science, science over math. da, 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 da. It's fun. It's weird. There's a lot going on in it. I would probably read it because I do love me some math, right? And I find math and science to walk hand in hand at all times. But I am kind of curious how they are going to divide the road there for those two things. So I'll probably just be following it down just for that, to be honest with you. But I definitely wouldn't say it's going to be like one of my top tier comic books I'm going to be reading. Next, something I read, and I'm still trying to figure out how I got through a relatively thick book so quickly, and that's Almighty. So this takes place in a dystopian future where a group of bikers kidnap a young lady, hold her hostage, surprisingly not doing anything of a sexual nature to the young lady. They made that clear in the story. Another female saves her, and they're going to try to go to where it's safe, right? A rescue operation, right? From point A to point B. It's a quest type story. Leader of the biker gang finds out, bam, and then they kind of give us a quick flashback of how all this started. It's kind of one of those back and forth things. I've seen Mad Max. I've seen dystopian before. It doesn't seem too much of an original story to me. If issue 2's there, I may pick it up if I'm a little light on my independence, but I'm just not. I'm still trying to figure out why certain apps were making a big deal out of this book. It's pretty basic. It's basic. All right, next, Blood Tree. So this is interesting and weird, and I kept this feeling like I've seen this story, but I thought it was AWA. So definitely, if you know, hit down below. Wasn't there an AWA book? It was like Angel 8 or something along those lines. Help me out there. It was a while back, like when AWA first came out with their comic book series, and I could have sworn because it looked very similar to that, and then there's another concept in here that really kind of rung in my head, and I can't get rid of it. So what we have here is we have murder scenes with people plummeting to their death, they're falling down to their death. And we're seeing nude people with fake angel wings sewn into their skin. Oh, right? And then we keep seeing this phrase around the murder scene, blood begets blood, right? So obviously we're dealing with something kind of cultish here with a serial killer who's also drugging people at the same time. And these two cops have to kind of figure out what's going on here and get on board with this. Super creepy story, super creepy art in it. So yeah, I enjoyed this. As sadistic as that may sound. I like this, and I want to read some more of this because we keep getting these kind of creepy scenes where some random dude just in a cemetery taking copies of things for some reason. There's a lot of things that this book doesn't really explain going on in the background that you know are significant to the story. So I'm going to want to read some more of that. Next, we got Black Tape. Black Tape is an interesting story about a rock and roll star who hit it big really fast. He's kind of having a falling out with the industry. But because he passed away, his wife kind of goes around the house and finds out that he was pretty deep into the occult stuff, and kind of left us there. And there's also a little bit of a mystery in the background as to why this bodyguard got fired at one point. What exactly is the music industry trying to make him do? And why does everybody want his record that he wouldn't release? Why does everybody want this record? So I really like this. I hope my comic book store, this is by AWA, I hope my comic book store picks up some more of that. I would very much enjoy that. And that's my Holland review for this week. So definitely let me know what you think down below. Did I miss something this week? I wanted to be independent heavy this week. But if there was something else that I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hey, even share it with some of your friends out there that are kind of into comic books too. Want to hear from them as well. Consider this your sounding board. I always try to comment on comments. So guys, that's it. That's all I got for this week. I hope you all are staying safe and warm. It's starting to get cold here in Virginia. So I'm bundling up, drinking hot cocoa, and I'll see you around on the next one. Talk to y'all later. Bye.